Welcome to the Self-Care Show with Deidre Sanford. Although holistic and alternative healing methods are becoming more and more mainstream, what method is right for you? How do you find a practitioner once you've chosen to explore an alternative therapy? Each week, Deidre will explore a different modality with practitioners who will explain their modality and the benefits they and their clients have received through their sessions. She and her guests may also offer live readings during the show. Now, your host of the Self-Care Show, Deidre Sanford.
Good morning, good morning. Happy Wednesday. Welcome to June the 14th. It's going to be a great day. I have declared it's going to be a great day. And you're going to have a great day too. Just set your mind to it and make it happen. Steer straight or don't. Whatever makes it a great day. It's been an interesting morning. There's been all kinds of thoughts floating through the air, floating through my head. And I just kind of reach up and pluck one out of thin air every once in a while. And transition. Again, right? Spring. I'm sticking with this transition theme because we're not quite officially into summer yet, but almost. Transition is always such an interesting thing, right? Sifting through what's happening, what's potentially coming, what we're looking for, what we're hoping for. What are you hoping for? What do you want to bring forward and carry with you into the future? And perhaps more importantly, what do you want to let go of to create the space for this new stuff that you want to bring in? Pop in, say good morning. Let me know that you're out there. I know you're lurking. I know you are. But say hi. Grab your water, grab a seat, settle in, because we're going to take you for quite a ride this morning. Karen Romine is with us today, and she is multifaceted, full of personality, and also full of all kinds of warmth and hugs and just genuine love and appreciation for other people. I am so very much looking forward to having her share her amazing self with us today. She has been working with energy. She received her certificate of master in Usui Reiki. She's continued education, including and not limited to, my goodness, she is so full of amazing information. She got her certification of clinical applications of essential oils in 2014. We all love essential oils and the many ways in which they can serve us. Certification in Comprehensive Iridology, and that is something I really want to dive into later today in the show. She is also certified as an angel guide and automatic writing, crystal energy therapist, and in 2021 she received her certification as a healer, as psychic, and as a medium. And in February 2022 she got her certification as a psychic investigator. And most of this work in particular she's done through Lisa Williams and her amazing school. I got the opportunity to meet Karen in December at Lisa Williams. There's Courtney. Good morning. How did you know my Uncle Jim calls me Deed? I love it. In December in Tampa, and she's full of exciting, wonderful, uplifting energy. She was the first person to greet me when I walked in the room, and I felt so at home. I want to make her feel at home right here on the Self-Care Show today. Karen, come on out here and join us and let us see your beautiful smile. Hi.
Hi. I don't think I knew I was the first person to greet you in Tampa.
You absolutely were.
I must have just been drawn to you. I must have said, I've got to know her. She is my kind of people.
Well, I'd like to believe that that's true. So thank you for the warm welcome. I hope we're able to welcome you as warmly to the show today.
Oh, thank you. I'm super excited to be here. I've been looking forward to it. We've had it on our calendar for a
For a
little while.
while. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I know that I kind of fumbled my way through a bunch of information, highly about you and who you've developed yourself into. I'll bet you can tell us in a much better way than I have done this morning. Help us understand Karen and how you came to be who you are today. Please.
Well, I could talk on this for hours because it's such a scenic route that I took to get to here today. I heard messages when I was younger, and I grew up in a conservative area in the Midwest, and it wasn't really well received.
Mhm.
So I was taught more, as oftentimes younger children are, to be seen and maybe not quite heard so much, especially when other people, adults, we tend to lose that openness of receiving messages. So then they go into more of the fear side of it. So
Mhm.
shut it down. I had crazy medical issues from the time that I was probably just starting into junior high until I was around 20, 19. I mean, we're talking like, 40 years ago or more. Well, more.
Mhm.
I had a spinal tap because
Oh,
I was having so many crazy medical issues. And at the end of the day, they determined it was all in my head.
wow. Don't you love those garbage pail? We can't figure it out, so it's got to be up here
And
somewhere.
I loved
Yeah,
it because realistically it
it
was.
was. Yeah.
And the best thing that happened out of that was that they sent me to a man who taught me self-hypnotism.
Oh, wow.
And so here I was in, junior high doing self-hypnotism, which essentially is putting myself into that state where we go explore past lives, we go into meditation, meet our spirit guides. So what they didn't realize was that they put me right back into it.
Perfect.
So I moved to Houston and got straight into corporate America.
Mhm.
And one day a girl came in and said, "Hey, do you want to go see a medium? We're all going to go this weekend." And I said, "Well, no. Can we go see a great?" I don't know what is a medium. I'd never even heard of one. That was not on my college curriculum, let me
Right.
tell you. So we went. I was a complete skeptic. And, I parked around the corner. This is before internet, cell phones, all that. Park around the corner. I made my appointment under Mary or something. And I came in and I thought, I want to be this lady. I was so enthralled with her. And she kept telling me, this is your path. This is your path.
Mhm.
So I would have been around 20 then. And so I spent a very hard-headed next 20 plus years in corporate America
Yeah.
and loved what I did. But in my late 50s, I received a message one night about a passing. And it was so significant to me. And it literally changed the way that I started to grieve
Mhm.
and how I processed through that compared to other times. And I thought, if I can do this for me, I need to do this for
Yeah.
other people. So at that point, I had already gotten into things like Reiki. I got into what I call the safe things.
Right.
So I got into energy work and started working more with essential oils and with affirmations and all of those things. And then I decided I'm jumping off the cliff, and I called my business partner and said, guess what? I'm checking out in 6 months. We need to find a replacement. And he said, "What are you going to do?" I said, "I'm going to go talk to dead people." And
Yes.
he said, "I am so excited for you."
Oh, that's awesome.
I was like, wow, this is fantastic.
Yeah.
So it's because of my corporate America background or something, I believe that I need to be educated, but I
Right.
also understand that there's such a significant role that we play in this space,
Mhm.
whether that's in healing and delivering messages, whatever that looks like. It's important to know that I'm always doing my absolute best. So that's why I have a lot of education under my belt, because I am a learner and because I think it's important.
Absolutely. And it
Yeah.
gives you and those of us who continue to seek and learn and grow, right? It gives us so many different access points from which to draw information, to understand information we're receiving, information we're getting, and so many different points of view, enabling us, I believe, to work more effectively and more cohesively with the myriad backgrounds of the clients who come to us.
I completely agree with you on that. And I also think, and I did want to say hi, Courtney, and hi, Lee, that I did want to say that it's something about once you start to open energetically, don't you find that more and more stuff finds you?
Yes.
So I think that's maybe the easiest way to say it for me, is I just found
Yeah.
stuff was finding me before I was finding it.
Yeah. It's funny. We were just discussing this last night. As we do this work and as we open ourselves to the work, I think some of the curiosity just expands. And all of a sudden, I'm like, oh, I want to learn more about this and I want to learn more about that. And part of that conversation was the reminder that, or you're going back to things that you were interested in, maybe before society taught you who you should be,
Oh, well,
reopening to yourself.
I completely agree with that. I don't even think we know. Andrea, I love newbies. Hi.
Yay.
And
Lori's here
hello,
from as
Lori.
well.
I find that being I don't even think we know everything. People say, that question, where you want to be in 5 years?
No,
Like I didn't, like I said, this was not on my college curriculum. There was
no.
nobody that was teaching me this. And as we get more and more into this space, I find that there's more and more doors opening. I think that as a whole, where we are right now in time, that this is a time when people are really starting. The other day, there was some like a pizza commercial for Domino's, or I don't even know what it was. And the person said something about their food delivery. And somebody says, well, I'm not psychic. And I thought, oh, it's like these words are now
Yes.
becoming so mainstream
Mhm.
that it's now on commercials. So I completely agree with you. It's like the Wild West. Who knows what's gonna be coming up
And
next?
it's so much fun. There was an episode, oh my gosh, totally gone out of my head, like one of the top 10 weekly drama shows, hospital based, one of my favorite shows, and the name is gone, but they have a psychiatrist as a main character. And mediumship suddenly became a big topic in that show. And what that show did was, and we talked about it on this show, but what that show did was show mediumship in a positive light and the healing abilities or the healings that can come from mediumship readings. And I thought, wow, it used to be they'd show mediums in turbans and
Oh,
cuckoo bananas. Think Whoopi Goldberg and Ghost,
yeah.
But
Yeah.
now we've got this guy that's an everyday Joe. He was a janitor in the show, and he's having chance encounters
Oh,
with the psychiatrist patients, and these patients are coming back to him and having these major breakthroughs. And he's like, "How is this possible?" "Oh, I talked to the janitor." And he's like, "I'm sorry, what?"
yeah.
Come to find out, it was front and center of part of that show was the healing that comes through from mediumship.
Oh my gosh. I haven't seen that one, but there's also the one with the girl who the guy is following around and he's dead. Nobody can see him.
Oh yeah,
And she's like, go away, and transitioning through all of
yeah,
that, which I also think is a significant message in and of itself, because we're all psychic. That's my
Right.
belief, right? So we're all psychic. We're all getting messages and we're all like, go away, go away, because our brain's telling us this is not normal. I'm a complete geek with the whole brain psychology of things,
I love
how
it.
it all works.
Yeah, it's crazy. Some of it's becoming a little bit more apparent to me as I go through some different processes. And um, a big key component to that for me was learning to just shut up in my environment, in my head. Just shut up and be still. And for years people had said, "Oh, listen to the small still voice within." I thought, well, what does that even mean? And now all of a sudden I'm like, oh, okay, there's that small still voice. I'd better go do what it says.
I- we knew this conversation would just lead us
Yes, we
places.
did.
One thing that I think is so, so important for people, whether they're in this space or they're in corporate America or they're a
Mhm.
corporate America person running their home with their children and everything, is like you said, listening for that message. And meditation is such a big part of that. But there's such a preconceived notion about
Yes.
meditation that,
Yes.
I have to sit in a certain way, I have to hold my hands a certain way. I've had people ask me, what do they need to wear if they're going to come to a class to learn meditation? And I also hear, I don't have time for meditation.
Mhm.
That's a big one. And I can't stop all my mind. So I can't meditate. I'm just saying I can't. So the learning of that process of a thought coming in and releasing it is
Mhm.
actually the act of meditation,
Right.
right? So it's a beautiful thing when people are like, you mean it's okay if I thought about, oh my gosh, I forgot oranges at the
Right.
grocery store? I'm
Yes.
like, Yes, it's perfect. It's because your mind finally stilled down enough to remind you that you forgot the oranges.
Right.
So it just comes in and goes out, and that it doesn't need to be for 2 hours in silence saying Om. And the other thing that I'm really big on teaching is that when we meditate, it actually creates time.
Mhm.
I view my brain like file cabinets. So when you're meditating, you're throwing out all the stuff into the shredder that
Mhm.
you no longer need. It's moving everything that you need to the front of the drawers. It's recirculating things to the back. So when you're actually working outside of the meditation, you're far more efficient.
Yes.
So I think that meditation is a huge thing for all of us. And you have to start somewhere. I say to people, do it for just say you're going to sit and breathe for 2 minutes.
Mhm.
That's it. Just breathe for 2 minutes. Think about your grocery list the whole time and concentrate on your breath.
Yeah, but we also don't forget, and I love that you brought in the filing cabinet analogy because I've used that.
Oh,
And I'm like, wait, what are you psychic? Get out of my head. That's always been my reference point. I love it. Um, it gives us the chance not just to pull things from the back and shred what we don't need, but it also gives us a chance to find new correlations between things that are in our filing cabinets. How is this thought that came across my awareness related to this other thought that came across the awareness? And that's a whole other rabbit hole.
yes.
And why not go down that road and explore it? These two thoughts came to you or came to me for a reason. So why am I having these two thoughts, one right after the other? Are they related? Or do I need to work harder to keep them separate? It's a different meditation in and of itself.
I love that. That is true. That's true. It's teaching us how to more clearly see things.
Or more creatively.
Yeah,
Connect dots.
I agree. I
We
can.
knew. We knew we were just going to meander in all kinds of
That's
places.
right.
We can have goals, but spirit's going to be like, nope, we're doing this now.
That's
Okay.
right.
I love it.
Mhm.
So you made the transition from corporate America, and I think it's fantastic that you also bring forward the part of the story where you announce, hey, I'm making this change. I'm going to go talk to dead people. And your partner's like, I'm so happy for you. It's rare, I think, that we anticipate that sort of response from people. When we say we're making big changes, at least for me, for a very long time, oh my God, what are they going to think? How are they going to react? And then I
I
would let myself be swayed by someone else's reaction, response, thoughts, judgment. And anymore, I'm like, okay, I hear you. It's not my job to change or correct your judgment or your fear for me, whatever. It's my job to stay my course. And I think that's hard, isn't it?
It can be hard. It certainly can. When I got to that point where I decided to do that, I was so sure there was not a question or a doubt in my mind that this was the direction I needed to go. So I could freely say, I'm going to go talk to dead people. It had such an impact on me. There's no way I can't use that to help others. So for me, it was very easy to say that. Now, once I jumped to the other side of the fence, I had a very hard time saying I talked to dead people.
Mhm.
So, I had a lot of funny things that happened. Like the first thing my husband said was, I do not want a neon palm in the front window. Because that was all he knew. That was all he
Right.
understood. He knew that I knew things and that things had come up over the years. But when I tell him I'm quitting my job running a tech company and I'm going to go talk to dead people, he was like, oh, she's lost her mind. So, right. So I had a lot of friends that are like, it's even more interesting that you say that. The other day, here I've been doing this full time for years.
Mhm.
I talk about it freely. I'm on your podcast. Anybody can find us. But there was something about integrating this on my personal Facebook page. And I never have. I just have never mentioned it. And about a month ago, a friend of mine tagged me on a post about me doing a platform reading and talking about her experience. And at first I was like, oh, I need to untag that. And then I thought, no, actually, I'm not. And I had
Good.
all these people writing in saying, oh my gosh, I didn't know you did that. And so it is, I'm still find myself every day in some ways. People would say, so what do you do? And when we go out, like with my husband's acquaintances or friends or whatever, "Oh, what do you do?" In that typical question. And I'd be like, I'm retired.
So are you telling me that it took you years, hi Diet, it took you years to make that leap from this is what I do to this is who I am?
Oh, yes. And that's a perfect way of saying that, Deidre. It's perfect because I am still in that transition. And what I think is that I'm forever going to be in that transition.
Okay.
This is how I gauge people. Now I'm much more free with the I talk to dead people comment, right? And you can see they'll say, so what do you do? And I'll say, oh, I talk to dead people. And you can see in that minutia of a second, you can either see, really? Or you can see,
Yeah.
right?
It's like that
And
moment when the wheels in their head, the cogs and the wheels in their heads just lock up and they're like, wait, what?
exactly. And if it's that little slight movement in, then I know where I'm going to go with the conversation. If it's that slight movement out, I say, oh my gosh, look at that car over there. Oh, look at that dog. Oh my gosh, look at that. Would you? Because it's just not their space. So I
Right.
don't really have a fear of people knowing. It's just that I'm not always open to receive what somebody has to give
Mhm.
me. And so it's like people say, don't ask the question if you don't know what the answer is going to
Mhm.
be. And some days I'm totally good with not knowing the answer. And that's why I'm asking the question. But some days I'm just not.
I think it actually speaks much more loudly to being settled in who you are. When we're working toward being settled in X, and it doesn't have to be something as different as I talk to dead people, we tend to bandy it about a little bit just to test the waters and see what kind of reaction we're getting. If we're approaching something in our lives and announcing it, we're either asking permission or being a rebel. If you have to go one extreme or the other, right?
Yes.
So you just kind of, hey, this is who I am. And if I have the opportunity to share that with you and you are open to receiving, great. If not, I'm just going to plant this little seed and let you decide what to do with it. I think it's a great way to do it.
Yep, I agree with you on that. I think it's just cycles of life too that we go through. I mean,
Yeah.
that's why I did Reiki first, because and even when I did Reiki, which would have been 40 years ago, I think. During that time of whenever I was doing that, we were in this lady's little house in her back room when it was like the cult meeting.
Mhm.
And at that point, we couldn't say Reiki. Now, I think they've destroyed the true values of Reiki. That's just my personal opinion on that. I think it's been very commercialized.
Mhm.
And that we're losing a lot of the impact of people to be able to be healed and work with that type of energy. But that's a whole nother, I digress. But that was like my safety blanket. That's how I got into iridology. I'm like, okay, I'm talking to my business coach. She's like, all right, look, lay it out. What do you want to do? I'm like, well, I really want to move forward as a psychic medium, but I think I'm going to get certified as an iridologist instead.
Put another
I,
arrow in the quiver back there.
yeah,
I love it.
it was, I knew where I needed to go at that point, but I still needed that safety of it.
Sure.
That's why I love that it's becoming so normalized, like we were talking about on TV or in commercials, and that now I have a community of people. So like yourself, like Lori, who's on chat, like the lovely Diet on chat, like people that I can talk to about it also. And it also helps to have people and not feel like you're alone.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that's also a big plus.
Yeah, I blame Diet for a lot of the new things I'm experiencing, and I mean that in the most loving way possible. But there are moments, right, when somebody cracks you open or helps you crack yourself open, you're like, this is your fault, because that's not an easy transition.
Yeah.
And then there's Lori, who comes along and supports, you support and you offer information. And I love that we had that opportunity, all of us in Tampa, to get to know each other and to carry some of those relationships that were developed there outside of that setting and to develop more.
Yeah.
One of my favorite exercises from that weekend was very simple, and it was at the meet and greet. And it was walk around the room and just say the first thing that pops into your mind to other people. Get used to just saying random stuff. And I think that that is something that we can all probably incorporate a little bit more into just our daily interactions with people throughout the day. It doesn't have to be in a setting where we're talking about psychic and mediumship development. But just in the way that we interact with each other, we're also guarded. We're also filtered. We're also afraid to speak to that stranger or say a friendly hello to somebody as you pass them on the streets. You don't have to say something odd, but even just opening yourself up enough to hi to a random stranger can be a big deal.
A million things are going through my brain about that. I just wanted to completely let you finish the sentence and hear you. So there is something about offering a kindness, which can be as simple as hello, that people feel like they're making themselves vulnerable or they're opening themselves up for who knows what. And I think it's a terrible thing. And I think that more and more and more our environment, our community is leaning towards this defensive posturing. And that we find ourselves no longer listening. Someone's talking and we're just thinking, what is it we're going to say? How is it we're going to respond to that? How has this it's all about me. It's no longer listening to you in your space, in your entireness, right?
Right.
So when to bring up how that exercise, how I thought that was so unique whenever we did that, and you would hug somebody and say,
Ah,
this is the first thing that comes to mind, is that it put everybody in the listening side because it was not about response.
right.
It was just to take that and hold that. And I think that's so important for people. What if you could just say hi to somebody and they didn't need to say hi back? What if somebody says
Just
hi,
you.
right? If somebody says hi to you, that's a whole nother thing. You're like,
Yeah.
hi,
Yeah.
right?
Jamie Lynn just jumped in and joined. Sorry, Jamie Lynn just jumped in and joined us, and she said, "Or telling the cashier you like their shirt or hair." They
Oh,
remember those comments more past that moment. And I'm going to flip that around. I'm a cashier.
yeah.
So the
So
little things, I mean, absolutely, Jamie Lynn, right on the nail on the head. But then my goal with every customer who comes through my lane is I don't start ringing your groceries until I can look up, look you in the eye. There's a goal, greet you, and then I'll start with your foods. Where we've lost that in our community, and you would probably not be surprised by how many people respond with, "Here, I have 3 of these." I said that to a customer the other day. "How are you?" And he goes, "I have 3 of these." And that's how you are? You have 3 of those? I literally just couldn't help myself. It came out of my mouth. And it kind of went over his head, but it stopped him for a fraction of a second. Planted the seed. It's so odd how we don't interact with each other, specific to your point, even in passing.
we're being trained to not interact. You're talking about being a cashier. I can tell you, you do not work at Aldi's. I had a friend who worked at Aldi's, and their goal was to get ding from the first scanned item. They were under the gun to get every single thing scanned, get you paid. They're like, put your card in there while I'm scanning your stuff, get your stuff out of the cart next.
That's the same thing. It's a pressure, I think. It's also an efficiency to help the customer get through their day more easily. They don't want people waiting. Believe it or not, they don't want people waiting. But we miss that moment. We can get so focused on that expectation. Corporate wants our scan rate at 100%. Okay, fine, I'm at 106. But every person who comes through my lane needs to leave a little better than they were when they got there.
And what if they come back because you actually slowly scanned and made eye contact and said, how are you? And now with 9 different places I could go get my stuff, I come back because I want to see that friendly lady that's at register 6. I'm going to look for you. I'm going to get in your line, even if your line is the longest line.
I
Right?
had people tell me I'm at the service desk sometimes now too, and I've had people find me at the desk. They're like, "I walked through the entire store and I looked at every register looking for you, and here you are."
I love that you're at the service desk. I hate to tell you that, but I love that because who goes to the service desk and is there having a great day? Nobody.
I know, but it's amazing how disconnected we've become as a society. It's just amazing to me, and I understand. Yeah, when some random stranger says hello, you knee jerk respond, or you're so closed down you're going to act like nobody ever spoke to you. Hi, how are you today?
Yeah.
Very rarely do we answer honestly.
Yep. I agree.
And we're
I
looking for
yeah.
that.
You're exactly right. Very rarely. Everybody says, "Oh yeah, I'm good. I'm good."
Lee says, if I mistakenly answer hi to a person, I then make it awkward for them and start talking to them like I've known them forever. And that's a natural ability, Lee, that some of us have. And I think there's a decent percentage of enough of us who have that natural ability that they're not going to break us, you know? It's funny.
And I
Oh, hey,
also
Nikki, thanks for
think
popping in, but we're not doing messages today, and neither are you. Have a great day. Jamie Lynn is agreeing with us. She says society is now conditioned to be a fast food restaurant. People seem too busy with life to socialize.
yeah.
Yeah.
I do think too, Lee, when you said that there is it's like we walk into a room and we don't know somebody, but we're just drawn to them. And
Yeah.
I'll go back to the first thing you said whenever I was coming on, that I greeted you right away. Oh, there's a room full of people. I don't know how many people were there. Let's just say there were 100 people in the room. That there is something energetically that makes you, Lee, say hi to somebody.
Mhm.
And whether that's a prior or a prior connection in life, or whether that's in another life, and there's something that energetically is putting it out there that that person needs that, and that you're
Mhm.
receptive to that and giving that. I don't think that we say hi to somebody completely by accident.
I think you're right. And I think that also speaks to we're all tied together in some way.
Mhm.
Some way. The universal energy, we're all one.
Do you believe in past lives?
Mm-hmm. Of
I've
course.
been trying to figure out, I'll condense this to a short story, if possible. I've been trying to figure out why I have this crazy fear of heights. And
Out of my head.
I did, huh?
Get out of my head.
Oh, so as I decided I was going to do this whole past life regression, and my husband's like, "Oh, really, you're going to go see yourself as some pioneer woman in the Wild West and making whiskey in the back and whatever." He's got the whole thing out. So, my long story short, I drive for hours to get to this person who comes highly recommended. I go through this whole process, and she says, "Oh my God, I've never had a reading like that before." Nor she had me prepare this list of questions. So my list of questions, they're very earthbound. This has been quite a few years ago. I want to know the names of my guides. I want to know why I have a fear of heights. I want to know all these earthy kind of questions. So I start into this past life regression. It's no person. I become an animal. I'm flying over the grass. I get dumped on the ground, and a tree kind of swallows me up, and then it's giving me all its information through the root system. My voice changes in the recording. My face changes in the video. I completely transfigure the whole situation. And I talk the whole time, and I never give her a chance. 2.5 hours I talked, delivering these earthly, big, conceptual ideas. And at the end, she's like, "Well, before we wrap it up, we'd like to know a few things. Are you her master guide?" And we get, "Yes." "And what is your name?" And I'm like, please, that's such an earthly question. Why would you even ask that? "Well, could you tell us why she has a fear of heights?" Oh, that is such an earthly question.
Oh my
Oh,
gosh.
oh, so all I did was have this big event, and I never did get my answers.
It's still a protection, apparently, that you're going to hold on to. I love it.
I don't know, but why did you say get out of my head?
Because I have a fear of heights. I can fly in an airplane, no problem. I can
Yeah.
stand at the top of a skyscraper, no problem.
Oh.
But put me on a Ferris wheel. Like when I was a kid, 5 or 6 years old, went to the local festival, got on the Ferris wheel, and I was with my future stepfather. He's like 6'6". So I was just with this big protector, right? Screamed bloody murder on that Ferris wheel so badly that they they stopped the ride and took me off.
And that's coming, a fear of falling, yeah, like, those things are coming from nobody threw you off of a Ferris wheel that you're aware of, right?
Right.
Yeah. So those things are coming, that fear of falling, Lee. I'm guessing that you've never had a huge fall. Like, there's something that's happened to us before that's put that into us.
Yeah. That's a whole rabbit hole about irrational fears our children have. Where did how did you get to be afraid of this? What's that knee-jerk reaction? Oh my gosh. Okay. We could do a whole other show on just that conversation and those kinds of things. I love it.
Yep.
You know what? we're talking about saying hello, I'm going to say pause because we totally blew past our 10:30 station break. I want to make sure we get that in for Todd. I know, I love it. No, it's great. So let's take that quick station break. Take a moment and gather our thoughts. And Lee, I love that comment. I want to get back to it a little bit later. I'm going to pop a star in it. If I don't get back to it, I apologize in advance. One station break coming right up. We will see you all in just a moment.
Want to see your video here? Sponsor WLTK-DB Talk Radio and watch us make that happen. With your paid sponsorship of $80, you receive a professional produced audio, video, and banner placement on our station. Not only does your sponsorship air during our live shows, but also replayed on our podcast and heard by hundreds of like-minded people. Visit WLTK-DB.com to get started and find out just how hard we work to get you noticed.
And we're back. Thank you guys so much for joining us today on the Self-Care Show on WLTK-DB. I am Deidre Sanford. My guest today is Karen Romine, and we have just gone off on the most lovely tangent with our conversations today. I love it. Karen is a spiritual advisor. She's a healer. She's a psychic medium. She is a certified iridologist. There's so much information, compassion, love, all kinds of amazing, wonderful things packed into this woman right here. We couldn't possibly get to all of them today, even though I would love to. One of the things, Karen, that I know is near and dear to your heart is your forensics work. Can we go there?
We sure could go there.
Big segue. No segue at all. Let's just jump in.
Let's just go. How did I get involved in that? My name is Karen, and I'm a true crime junkie. I love true crime. My husband says if I ever really did commit a crime, that everybody would say it's no wonder. So I'm also a huge rule follower, oddly. So I think that's out of my scope. And when I first figured out that I could interject my psychic and mediumship work with investigations, I was completely fascinated. I thought, this is my calling. This is definitely what I want to do. So I did this year-long certification course. And at the end of that, I determined it was definitely not what I wanted to do. It bothered me working on murder cases that were unsolved, and it bothered me for the families. I was taking on the emotion of the families. I was taking on the emotion of the crime sometimes. It was, and not knowing the answer. I like to know the answer. That's why I like true crime stories on TV, because they always tell you what happened at the end. And not knowing that bothered me.
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot of stuff around it. And I had hoped that this was really going to be a door opener for me. So we get through the class. I decide, no, it's going to go on the back burner. And I had a couple other people from the class reach out to me that were working on a case. And I begrudgingly said, okay, just send me a picture and let me see if I can connect with the person. And if I can, then I'll see what I get. So I did. I connected with the person. They gave me the feedback. I said, all right, let's do it. So I did it and alone, which is how I prefer to do it, alone. And then in this case, it works that we got to work in a group. So we could then bounce ideas off, like you and I have talked about. You might get that somebody is alive or deceased. And in that case, in my first case, I had one and the other two psychic mediums had the other. So we knew then at that point he was either alive or dead. We had narrowed that down. But working with them and working through all of the information and giving it back and then seeing the person was actually alive, which that was what we had determined, and that they were going to come back, that they had gone off on their own intentionally, to see that all transpire and get to see the end and get to hear from the family what that reading did for them.
Mhm.
It shifted everything for me. So I move across country. I decide then subconsciously, maybe I might be open for it, and that I want to use this as my give back, meaning this isn't something I'm ever going to charge for. This is something when a family is in crisis that I can't charge for. So I move across country, and as it would have, I meet two of the neighbors in different sequence, having different conversations. One of them is an FBI agent, and one of them is a local police officer whose sole focus is cold cases. So my husband is now like, we've gone from no neon palms to, oh, that's a sign. I know you well enough. That's a sign. So I have now tested through a big process working with two nonprofits where it's different because we only work alone. We send all of our information to the nonprofits. And then if the case is resolved, we do get an email back. But if it's not resolved, we don't. But I found quite fascinating that one of those nonprofits it was an event, a process to get involved with them. It was a lot of testing, a lot of background checks, a lot of making sure I wasn't a crazy person. And then I'm also working with active law enforcement and retired law enforcement that are from linguistics, body language, just to detectives, everywhere in between, right? So they had their annual meeting and a couple of months ago, and they said that there were 136 cases that were solved through the information that they gave last year. And of those 136 cases that were solved, 136 of them had significant information that came through from a psychic or a medium that's on.
That's amazing. Amazing.
Yeah.
Love it. And an exponential number of people were affected by the resolution of those cases, whether it was the outcome they were hoping for, not the outcome they were hoping for. How many additional people were able to gain closure and pack things up for themselves?
And it's the ripple effect of that. So it's much bigger than the mom or the dad. It's the neighbors, the friends. And then it's also the ripple effect around if someone has committed a crime. It's also the ripple effect around them.
Yeah.
And what's happening. So I think that it impacts a lot of people, but now it's become a very important part of my space. If it's a real cold case, then it's not of urgency to me. I'll do it within a few days. But if it's something that is a child and it's the here and now, I will cancel my readings. I will clear my calendar to work on it. It's a very significant part right now of my life and my work, and it feeds my soul in a different way.
I love that it's something that you devoted an entire year of your life to getting your certification, to learning about this, and to developing your process as a forensic medium. And then you needed to back away, and then you could reapproach, and it's just opened up so much more for you and for so many other people to have that opportunity to drop back and reapproach maybe in a new way with a new perspective.
Spirit gives us stuff when we're ready for it. And apparently, unbeknownst to me at that time, I was not ready for it. And that's just how it is. And I'm totally okay with that, because now it's here and now it's playing a role in my life.
I think it's cool that it was instrumental in shifting a perception for you.
Yeah.
Through the work that you were doing. I don't know that I would have said, I'm not ready for it. If you weren't ready for it, it wouldn't have been there, right?
Yeah.
I just love that. That whole story, the way it came to be and the way it came back around for you is outstanding and awesome.
I'm kind of laughing right now
I'm
because
reading your comment.
this morning I was working on another case before we got on here,
Mhm.
and it's a cold case, and I've been kind of pondering on it. I'm stuck on something. So then I stopped, cleared myself, got myself all
Mhm.
grounded, went and got my water, sit down for my conversation with you. But ever since we've been here, my nose is itching like
Mhm.
crazy. So as you know, I suspect that there's somebody still lurking around me from that
Mhm.
space. Yeah.
Well, they have new information that they are probably more ready to share than they were earlier.
I would think you very possibly and most probably are correct.
Get an opportunity to hear all of that you've said today and figured out more about who you are, and they've learned that you're safe to talk to.
Yep.
I don't know. My 2 cents. I don't know what that's worth. Lee, I want to circle back around to what you said in the comment. She said, I lived in Florida and worked with the public. Ding, ding, ding. There it is. And she learned never to ask someone, how are you? Because they would at length tell you what's wrong with them and ask, how are you? And when you ask, how are you doing? And I find that interesting. And we don't have a whole lot of time left, but I want to tie that back to my Reiki experience and perhaps yours as well. When I set my feet into the energy healing world, and of course, the rest of me along with it, I got my first Reiki attunement. I got my second Reiki attunement. And what I found was that very shortly after that, we had turned on my beacon, my healer beacon. And people would randomly tell me all this TMI type information about what's going on with them and their health or not going on with them and their health. I was also managing medical offices at the time,
Oh,
but like I'd be at the store and I'd hear these stories, and that's kind of what Lee said. So it makes me want to come back and ask you, Lee, have you investigated your healing abilities? Your beacon may not be on that you know of, but that light, even though you're not necessarily working with it, that light is probably still light enough that people will see it and come and share stuff.
I agree with you. I can't wait to see what she's going to say in there. And I also think it's an indicator, Lee, that you are definitely an empath because people feel that and they know that. That's like the elevator doors close. My husband hates to be in an elevator with me
Yeah.
because people just start blah, 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 blah. And then the doors open and off they go and you never see him again. And he's like, what in the world was that?
Yeah. Yep.
So it's just a process. I
Or
think
they're just spilling stuff because they're so uncomfortable being in this enclosed space and they can't handle the quiet. So I have to speak,
yeah.
which kind of makes me feel like, police interrogation rooms, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
How many intersections can we find in everything that we've said today? It's so funny. Spirit brings us where we need to be. And Lee, I get that too. Instead of a fear of heights, she says she has a fear of falling. I know I have a fear of falling. I hate stairs. Courtney says I'm a PI in my downtime. I hate stairs. I lived in a house, and I'm going back to a house that has stairs in it. And my husband and I, neither one of us like the stairs. I'm not quite as afraid of falling as I used to be. I remember that I was told my grandmother waxed the stairs
Oh,
in the house my mom lived in when I was born, just before mom brought me home from the hospital. And my mother was terrified that she was going to fall down the stairs. So where do you think my fear of stairs came from? Not my life experience.
yeah.
Karen, I think we need to make a plan to do this again.
Oh my gosh, I would love to.
So
I
much
really,
fun.
I would love to. I enjoy the conversation about it. I enjoy sharing with people. Yeah, Lee, no doubt about that. You have empathic abilities. Um, I think that it's a really big opportunity for sharing the word. I love what you're doing here. I love that you're out on a regular basis with all of these new and interesting people to share experiences. I think it's a big part of how people learn. It's a big part of how we pick up things. It's a big part of our understanding and our growth in this space. So, and behind the scenes, Todd, too, I just want to acknowledge him too for all of the support and effort too in that space.
He's pretty amazing. And Karen, thank you for your lovely thoughts. That's awesome. That was the goal when I started the show. Yes, Courtney, we all love Todd. Absolutely. That was part of the goal. Let's bring some information out here and make it available, because there are so many different healing modalities, and not even necessarily healing modalities, but ways through which we can receive or create for ourselves an environment of healing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we all need it so much, whether we're open to it or not. It can just kind of work its way in there for us.
I agree.
Thank you so much for sharing time with me this morning and sharing your time with all of us. Thank you to everyone who came in and joined us: Lee, Courtney, Abigail, Andrea. We love newbies. Thank you for jumping on. It's always a pleasure to share my time with all of you. Jamie Lynn, Karen, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Thanks, Courtney. That was funny.
We'll chat with you backstage in just a minute. In the meantime, everyone else, have an amazing and fantastic day. Don't forget, Kelly Brickle is back later this afternoon with the Psychic Hour. There's so much happening on this platform for everyone. Check out that calendar that you can download, earmark your favorite shows or something you think you might just want to dip your toes into for a few minutes. No Agenda with Michael, Christopher, and Jen is amazing. And they literally come to the show with no agenda, a little bit like our conversation today. It's great to jump on board with that show. And of course, they do readings as well. Guys, this has been the Self-Care Show right here on WLTK-DB. I am your host, Deidre. My guest today was Karen Romine. Thank you once again, everyone, for joining us today. And we'll see you next Wednesday.
The truth is here and now on WLTK-DB Talk Radio at WLTKDB.com.